Welcome to RuralStrong, where we talk real challenges and bold solutions in rural economic development. I'm your host, Joe Barker. Let's get into it. Welcome to RuralStrong. This is your podcast host, Joe Barker, and we are broadcasting today from the Southwest Tennessee Development District podcast studio in beautiful downtown Jackson, Tennessee. And we have a special guest today. We have Miss Jamie Beasley, who is a rural development specialist with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. And I know she has a passion for rural communities and small towns. Jamie, welcome to RuralStrong.
Well, thank you so much, Joe. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Well, we've looked forward to having you on and to talk about your experiences in rural economic development. And tell us a little bit about your position with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce.
For sure. Yes, I'm a rural development specialist for North Central Oklahoma. It covers about 11 counties, and my job is just to connect with the communities and organizations within my region, find out what they're working on, what projects they have, what needs they have, and then connecting them with resources, whether it's Department of Commerce resources or other state agencies, just anybody that can help them fix the problem that they're working on. That's my job, to make that connection.
So you're pretty much the liaison between the local communities and state government.
Basically, that is the shortest way to describe what I do, yes.
Well, we have very similar here in Tennessee. We call them regional economic development specialists, and they do the same job description that you do, and I know our communities just couldn't exist without them. But let's talk about rural economic development. You know, it's something I have a passion for, and something that I think creates great challenges for our smaller communities. Where does this passion come from with you for rural communities?
Well, it's interesting because I grew up in Oklahoma City, which is absolutely not rural at all. But I have lived in several different rural communities throughout my adult life. And I have always loved the experience because they're so strong and so passionate about their town, and they're so easily overlooked. And sometimes, these small towns, they feel forgotten, and it's almost like they just kind of give up on themselves, and they forget how powerful they are. Yes, it's great to have these state agencies that have these like funding mechanisms and all of that, but you can't, you can save yourself. You don't, and they have the strength to do that. And once you remind them that they can, they absolutely have the will. And it's just inspiring to watch and see these small towns, grow and thrive and fight for themselves. And it's so much fun, and it is such a pleasure to be a part of.
And you mentioned something that I certainly agree with wholeheartedly. I've dealt with rural communities all my life, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard, and I know you've heard the same thing, is, if we just got a grant, we can do things. And yes, grants are important. But I tell my communities, grants are a tool. It's the local people that will save your community.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. If you wait until you get a grant to do a thing, you're going to be waiting forever. Grants are so competitive. I mean, that doesn't mean you'll never get a grant, but those are more, I feel like, for your really big lifts. Like, we need new water line. We need, something that's going to cost $10 million. That's where your grants come in. But you don't need a grant to make your town a better place, to make your town someplace you love to live. That comes down to you and the residents. And, you talk with your local government about like, hey, we want to do this, but the zoning is in the way. Can we fix that? There's so much you can do within your local community. You just are waiting for grants. You're never going to get there.
Absolutely. And Jamie, do you see a common thread that runs through small communities that are successful? What is it that has made them successful, and other communities who may have even more assets aren't as successful as they are? What's that common thread that you see?
Well, I think it is that, the whole we're going to save ourselves. Like, what do we want? What do we want for our kids? And what do we need to do to make that happen? It is being proactive and seeing the problems and working with each other, not just backbiting and, trying to undermine other people, but working together and like, this is what we as a community are going to do. Those are the ones that I feel really thrive when the local government, the chamber, the businesses, when they're all working together and communicating. I mean, and that's really, I think, the biggest key is when they're communicating, when they break through those silos and work together to lead their community forward.
And at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that it comes back to leadership. If you have good leadership, good things happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when you have a good, strong leader or leaders, your residents feel like there's hope. And if there's a problem, that they are somebody they can, talk to about it, and that's going to try to help them fix it. But when you have bad leaders, everybody just quits on the town. It's so hard to rally when everybody feels like your city manager's bad, your council is bad, your school is like, those leadership positions can really make a huge difference in the attitude of the entire town.
We're talking today with Jamie Beasley, who is a rural development specialist with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. And Jamie, how important is collaboration between local governments, collaboration in the region itself, collaboration with your partners? How important is collaboration in making a rural community successful?
Oh, I think collaboration is vital. I mean, when we were talking about, funding earlier, that's one of the things that when you collaborate, funding is so much easier to get. I mean, whether you're getting funding as a grant and you're coming together as several different organizations to get like a multi-jurisdictional grant, or you're just coming together to like, we want to have this thing here and it's going to cost more than any one of us can do ourselves. Let's come together and like pool our finances, pool our knowledge, pool all our resources to make this thing happen. I absolutely love this saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Absolutely.
I think that sums it up.
Absolutely. And working together is sometimes a challenge, but it's necessary certainly for success. What do you see as the biggest challenges right now for the communities you work with?
So in Oklahoma, our communities don't get any ad valorem taxes. They run solely on sales tax. And so funding is by far the biggest struggle that they all have. I mean, I know funding is a struggle for cities everywhere, regardless, but when it's just sales tax and like utility franchise fees, it is really hard to pay for all those things that you need to pay for as a city. which is, one reason why our cities tend to focus on retail rather than industry, because that's where their money comes in to pave the roads and replace the lines and do all the things. So that's really the biggest struggle. And I'm really interested in trying to find and present like other sources of revenue besides sales tax. What can like real estate, owning real estate. If you can get one lot, whether it's a commercial or a residential, and develop it, that's a source of revenue for you, rather than giving it away or selling it. Like, you be the developer, you be the landlord. And that's another, I have seen organizations do that to great success. And I think more cities need to kind of go that way. Just to count on something besides sales tax.
Now, you need to educate me a little bit. Do your local governments, do they have property taxes, but they just don't receive those taxes, or are there no property taxes whatsoever in Oklahoma?
There are property taxes, but it was written in our state constitution that our cities do not get any of it. It goes to the counties and the schools primarily. Our cities are only do sales tax, and then some of them, will franchise with the utility company, and so then they get those fees.
Sure. Well, that's,
it's crazy.
In Tennessee, we have property taxes, and if the county has a property tax rate, and then if you live in a municipality, the municipality has a property tax rate, and if you live in the municipality, you pay both the city rate and the county rate. And of course, it's a situs-based tax, and wherever you live is the one that gets the taxes. But much like you, though, the state of Tennessee is a sales tax-based state. We have no state income tax, so we're really based on on sales tax. And in good times, that's great. When the economy dips and sales go down, it makes it really difficult on our communities.
Oh yeah, absolutely. COVID was a killer for sales tax and all that. And then so many businesses went out of business, and it's just depending on sales tax alone I feel like it makes it so much harder than it needs to be on our towns, especially our little towns that are like our teeny tiny towns that barely have any business to do sales tax. Like maybe they have a gas station. That makes it really hard for them to do anything.
Does the state of Oklahoma have any innovative programs that assist their rural communities?
We have a lot of, like for rural or for water infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, and things like that. We have a lot of programs to help with that. We have all kinds of incentives for businesses to help businesses grow and expand. We have a couple that I really love because they rebate the state income tax back to the company to expand. I love that program because it's like you can see your income tax is making a difference in your community. But as far as just a straight helping the community, we really don't. We have the CDBG grants
Sure.
that everybody has, and our communities rely heavily on that, and they do get a lot of help from that. But I do feel like we could be doing more.
And I know you face this in Oklahoma as every other state is facing, but it's so critical in our rural communities is the availability of housing. And I never go to a meeting or a conference that there's not sessions about housing, and we could get into a long discussion into what you describe as affordable housing. But how is the housing situation in Oklahoma?
Oh, it is as bad here as it is everywhere else. I mean, our like Oklahoma City, Tulsa, our big cities, they claim a housing shortage too, but you see housing going up all the time. But our smaller cities and our towns, it is a real struggle because it is, one, obviously material is so expensive. And then, when you're an hour or 2 hours away from a city of size, developers don't really want to go out there. And, maybe you don't need a 40 or 50 unit subdivision. Maybe you need 10 houses or one apartment building, well, getting a developer to come out there and do that can be rough. I know the one thing I'm really excited about is the solar home phenomenon that's going on. I think that could be a game changer for the housing crisis.
Right. And, it's the chicken and the egg. To have housing, you've got to have the infrastructure, and we all know how expensive infrastructure is. And in our rural communities, I know we have plenty of land here in rural West Tennessee that could be built on, but the challenge is getting the infrastructure to it.
Yes, that is absolutely the biggest challenge, and that's one reason why I really want to see. We're kind of working on developing a program to help with abatement. Tearing down these old dilapidated houses and all of that. It's still very much in the idea phase, and I'm not at all sure if it's going to happen or how it will look. But because if you're doing, all these dilapidated houses, the roofs falling in and all of that, they look terrible. It's not good for the neighbors. It's not good for the spirit of the town. But if you can tear those down and infill, well, then the infrastructure is already there. And I think for our smaller towns, that's more the way to go, is to focus on getting rid of those old houses that are literally unlivable and doing infill. Because, and I mean, again, we have programs with the state to help with water and sewer infrastructure and all of that, which is great, but it's still so expensive, and most programs have a match, and a lot of small towns can't
make
afford
the
match.
That's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And or you can get a low interest loan, but I mean, because I've had small towns tell me but then we have to pay back the loan, and we don't have the money to do that. So I think that's really kind of where our immediate focus needs to be, is infilling.
Sure.
Getting rid of those dilapidated houses and infilling. I think towns will have a better success rate with that than trying to put in 50 houses and all the infrastructure that goes with it.
You mentioned success rate, and I love to hear from people across the country that work in rural economic development. Do you have a story or two about a small community that maybe did something innovative or has been successful that you could share with our listeners?
Well, in my region, I feel like the town that comes to mind first is Ponca City. When I was growing up, so Ponca City's always been known as, they have this statue of a pioneer woman, and that was all they were known for. And it was just a nothing kind of place. There was no reason to go to Ponca City. And over the last several decades, they have just really invested in their town. And it's such a cool place now. They're downtown, they're Main Street. They have a chamber and they have a Main Street organization and they have the Ponca City Development Authority. All of these organizations and the city have made a very deliberate effort to come together to, what is the problem? How can we fix it? And it is a cool little town. It has grown. I think their population is around 25,000 now. And they still struggle with housing and workforce and all of the things, but Route 66 goes through their town, and they've done a really great job with developing what they have and working together. And people come from out of the country to go to Ponca City.
I may want to go to Ponca City.
You should. You should go to Ponca City.
I should.
Their Main Street is just really cool. We have a lot of really cool little cities, but that's the one when I think of what it used to be and what it is now is really, it's just amazing.
And Jamie, how important is it for communities like a Ponca City to really identify their assets and build on those assets?
Oh, man, that is crucial. That is so important. I think most towns are so used to, focusing on what they don't have and what they need to get and all of that, that they forget to look at what do we have? Are we on a historic route? Do we have natural resources? What is good? What do we love about the location that we're at? And building on that, building out from there. There's a lot of towns that live on a lake, and even if they don't have control of the lake, you can develop around that, and they don't, and they really, that's the kind of thing you need to take advantage of. Or if it's hiking or biking or like I said, a famous person, place, or thing. Oklahoma just created a civil rights trail, and I don't know if they're actually developing a tourism marketing plan around it. It's all these towns that at one time were Black only towns, and it's really cool. And that's the kind of thing that you okay, because you can bring collaboration to it. All these towns could come together and market that and make an itinerary for traveling from the north, which I think Ponca City is on a part of that. From the north all the way down to south, make a weekend of it, make a week of it, those kinds of things. What do you have? What are you famous for? Is it heritage? Is it agribusiness? Is it natural, a river, a lake? There's so much you can do. Sorry, I can get really excited about it.
Well, and I think you're exactly right. And I think that brings in how important tourism is to our rural communities because, in today's world, I see, and we see it here in Tennessee, people want to get off the interstate. They want to explore. And these communities that make themselves unique are those that succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's especially when you're, depending on sales tax, you give people a reason. And it doesn't even have to be it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could just be one really cool business that you have, or one really cool location that you have, or one something you're famous for. Pawhuska, Oklahoma became, where Pioneer Woman Mercantile, the Ree Drummond, that's where she's from. She built a whole thing. Pawhuska people come from out of the country to go to the Pioneer Woman Mercantile because she that's the one thing, and it has made a huge difference for that town.
And if you do the right marketing, people will find you. Let's talk about something else. I know you have a project that you're involved in called Econ Dev Ops. Tell our listeners what that is.
Yeah. So I've worked, I've worked as a chamber director, I've worked as an EDO director, I've in different places around the country. And what I have learned is that regardless of where you are, most chambers and EDOs are like a one-man shop, maybe two if you're really lucky. And it's just so hard to get anything done. I mean, you're overwhelmed all the time. And I have also run a virtual assistant agency before, like nothing to do with anything. That was just a thing I had done. And then I got into economic development and I realized, like, there's not enough help. There's not enough admin help. We're expecting so much from one person, and then burnout happens and things slip through the cracks. And
when that one person leaves, then you're really in trouble.
Yes, absolutely. So I decided to take my experience as a virtual assistant and as a chamber and EDO director and bring them together. And I created Econ DevOps, which is a virtual assistant agency for chambers and EDOs. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, virtual assistants have been around for 10, 15 years now. And I don't know why. It's like it's never, like the thought was never there, like, oh, we could use a virtual assistant. You absolutely can use a virtual assistant. There's so many things, take those admin responsibilities off your plate so you can focus on strategy, you can focus on relationship building, you can focus on doing the things that actually accomplish your mission rather than creating social media or chasing down membership invoices and like all of that.
Well, and I think another thing, Jamie, that's going to make, and it's already making a tremendous difference in our rural communities that have little or no staff, is AI, and what today's technology can do to help provide information to that one person staff that we've never had available to us before.
Yeah, I mean, AI is definitely, it was for sure a game changer, and like I use it every day. I absolutely love AI, and there is so much that it can do. But being in the beginning phases, like there's so much it still can't do. So there's like a missing link between it can absolutely write all your social media posts, and you should let it do that. Like you should absolutely let it do that, but then you've got to take the time to schedule them and, you review them, find the images for them. There's, things that AI can't do yet. I feel like that won't always be the case. I mean, it's moving so fast. There's definitely still a gap. There's still a gap that needs to be filled. But yeah, I think every organization should be using AI to make their job easier.
Absolutely. Our time has flown, and I've got one last question for you. Whether our listener is in the state of Oklahoma or anywhere in the company, if you could give some advice on maybe an immediate step that someone can take to improve their community's economic outlook, what would be that first step you would recommend?
I think the number one thing that communities can do is to start talking to each other, talking to the organizations or leaders in their community, talking to the organizations and talking to other communities around them. Because people are smart and there are so many good ideas floating out there. And it's so easy when it's just you to think, this is overwhelming. There's too much. I don't know where to start. But when you start talking to the people around you that are also interested in moving your community forward, I mean, just magic happens. So that's my number one piece of advice is just start talking, start having conversations.
I agree. Open up the communication line, and then I would add, from my experience, is have a plan. I had a very successful businessman tell me one time that he knew of no business that had ever been successful without a plan. How can we expect our communities to be successful if they don't have a plan? Jamie Beasley has been our guest today. She's the Rural Development Specialist with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. And Jamie, if our listeners wanted to follow up with you, maybe have some questions, maybe on the Econ DevOps, how do our folks get in touch with you?
Probably the easiest way to get in touch with me is just on LinkedIn. I'm there and I get on LinkedIn almost every day. So I would say, yeah, find me there.
Okay. You can find Jamie on LinkedIn, and she does a great job in the state of Oklahoma. And Jamie, thanks for your time and much success in the future.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Joe. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on RuralStrong. If you found this helpful, share it and follow the show for more insights from rural leaders making a real difference. Until next time, stay rural strong.